Biscuit. Do you want to get choke slim? Welcome back, Math 8. Today we are going to go through some lesson called Patterns in a Table of Value. This section will be divided into two different lessons. One that doesn't have a word problem and one that has a word problem. So the video will be about 15 to 20 for both of them. And obviously the first one we're going to go a little bit slow. And in addition to that, we're going to go through something called slope. Patterns. In junior high, there are easy patterns that you can see from looking at the graph or looking at the table. Although in high school we're going to learn something called exponential pattern, but what we're going to do now is basically something called linear pattern. And when I say linear, there are two different parts that you need to focus. One of the part is something called how can I say linear and positive slope. Second part is called linear and negative slope. So, long story short, we're looking for a linear relationship only. So if the pattern is not linear, we are not going to discuss as much at all. One thing that you need to understand is, whenever you're dealing with a situation of relationship, always recall that there are y on one of the side and x on one of the side. Both left side and right side combine together and create something called linear relationship. Now, one thing that you need to understand that sometimes you need to do what I like to call substitution, which is one of the ways to go through each of the empty section. Right now, the first example I provide you. So the next step you need to do, first thing first, I guess, step number 1 is finding out the output, which is in this case values of y accordingly from corresponding x input. Input is x is equal to something. Once you figure that, you can create a coordinate like the one that you see on the graph. Even though, again, the first example I already gave you. This is a second part, which is coordinate on graph. Third step is actually connecting a line. Once we have line formed between the points and points on the graph, you will find that some of them are increasing, some of them are decreasing. In this case, I like to call this increasing pattern because I know I gave you a little bit of red line over here. This is like a staircase, as you can see, right? The reason it creates a staircase is because from my first point to second point, you are moving 1 to the right. That's positive 1. If I look at the second point and the third point, you're also moved by 1. Same thing happened. Same thing happened. So long story short, we know that, and I'm going to go back to the table. Each row provides you a little bit of a clue, and in this case is increased by 1. That is a pattern. So I like to say as x increases by positive 1 or 1, it doesn't matter. And let's look at the y pattern. From first dot to second dot, how much is increased in this situation? It increased by 2. Does it happen exactly on the same point for 2 to 3? Yes, it does. 2 to 3. I'm sorry, 2 to 4. The next one, 4 to 6. The next one, 6 to 8. So as you may notice, you are increase everything by 2. So this, double check with your table. That's a fancy way of saying each of the row should have a certain increasing pattern. So you can say as x increases by 1, y also increases by positive 2 or 2. This is what I like to call a relationship, or how you interpret the relationship. I like to call this interpretation of a pattern. And this, what I put over here, will be known as slope, because slope tells us how much rise over run. So far, you may know about slope before, you may not know the slope. It is okay. I just wanted to tell you that this is what I like to inform you. Slope is how much rise over how much run. So in this case, how much rise? 2 over 1. That's something that we're going to learn tomorrow or the day after, depends. This is the first step, so we are doing it one by one. Let's look at the next example. This time we're doing everything. So first thing first, we got to find out our outputs. And the way that we do is basically punching those numbers in. Substitution. So first example, 3 times negative 2 plus 1. Second example, 3 times negative 1 plus 1. 3 times 0 plus 1. 3 times 1 plus 1. 3 times 2 plus 1. We have all of those numbers given. Process of bad math. Bracket, exponent, multiply, dividing, and then addition, subtraction, right? Multiplication first. 3 times negative 2 is equal to negative 6. At this point, feel free to use your calculator, but we learn about multiplication of integer. 3 times negative 1, that's negative 3. 3 times 0, that's 0. 3 times 1, that's 3. 3 times 2, that's 6. Then we're doing the last part, which is adding everything by 1. Negative 6 plus 1 give you negative 5. Negative 3 plus 1 give you negative 2. 0 plus 1 give you positive 1, which I'm just going to put 1. 3 plus 1, that's 4. 6 plus 1, that's 7. So these are the output, which give you negative 5, negative 2, 1, 4, 7. And you're going to put these in here, negative 2 and negative 5, negative 1 and negative 2, 0 and 1, 1, 4, 2, 7. These are the pattern that you have. And then, using your ruler, I want you to create a line. I don't have a ruler at this moment, so I'm going to use anything that is a straight object. As you may notice, the line goes down through quadrant 3 and line goes up through quadrant 1. This is my third step. So again, table by doing substitution, then coordinate, then make a line. After that, we need to find out how much is increasing for or decreasing for x. If I look at first view, negative 2 to 1, negative 1 to 0, negative 0 to 1, 1 to 2. As you may notice, everything is increased by 1. So I like to say, as x increases by 1, and to be honest, most of the time x is increased by 1 or 2. But the next one, now how much y is changing? From first one, negative 5 to 2, I am increasing by 3, negative 2 to 1, increase by 3, increase by 3. So, as you may notice, the pattern in here is increased by 3. So you can say as x increases by 1, y also increases by 3. This is optional. And that is what I like to put about the interpretation of the pattern. And this is the beginning of slope. Even though I'm not going to go through how you write the slope, but how much it rise versus how much is run, which is, I'm not going to show a formula, but rise is 3, run is 1. So slope is 3. This is a little bit of spoiler alert. If you look at the previous one, rise is 2. Run, how much is going horizontally, is 1. So slope is 2 for this guy. Let's do more example. Alrighty. Let's do the same thing. Substitution. Negative 2x means negative 2 times whatever the value. Same thing for the others. Instead of x, you put the value. Negative 2 times 0, that's 0. Negative 2 times 1, that's negative 2. 2 times 2 is 4, but negative and positive give you negative. Same thing. And then what we're going to do is punching those number in. Oh, sorry, we already did that. Punching these coordinate inside of the graph. 0, 0, that's my coordinate over here. Origin. 1 and negative 2 over here. 2 and negative 4 over there. 3 and negative 6 over here. 4 and negative 8 over here. Unlike previous situation, this is a perfect example that the graph is actually going down part. So, first step, table and substitution. Second step, coordinate. Third step, line. Fourth step, what's happening between each line. Oh, sorry, each coordinate. From the first one to second one, can you see it's going right by 1? From here to here, right by 1. Going right by 1. Going right by 1. So that's a fancy way of saying x increases by 1. The next part, y. And now we got to be careful. From here to there, now it's dropped by 2, from 0 to negative 2. Does that happen so it's negative 2 over here? Does that happen from the second one to third one? Yes, it is. Drop by 2, drop by 2, drop by 2. So, y, in this case, unlike the other example, decreases by 2. Don't put negative 2 in here because the concept of decrease already tell you negative, so that's why. Once you have that set up, this is what I like to call as a slope. Slope is, and then we're looking at how much rise over run, which is, in this case, it's drop. So that's negative 2. That's a vertical change. And my horizontal change is 1. So slope is negative 2. Slope, to be fair, right now can be a little confusing, but that is okay. All of the assignment homework question that I'm going to give you does not involve finding the slope. I want you to, like what you see over here, create a table, construct a graph, and number 3, if your third step including the line, then third or fourth step will be write down the statement. That is today's lesson. The homework will be given right after this scene.